So hello everyone and welcome. Every one of us is probably at some point in their micro career stared at this screen and thought to yourself, should I roll for this character? And then maybe you came to one of my videos and also asked me this question on every single video that I make, which is very understandable because it's also a very important question that basically everyone wants to have answered is, should I roll for this character, should I roll for this character? I always make videos talking about how good a character is, but really, should I roll for this character? So I decided to make a video just about this question. Not for Sama Kyoko, but in general for characters. If you're ever on any gacha, on any of these, and you think to yourself, which sort of character should I actually roll for? Should I save now for a future character? Should I not save? Basically, I'm going to give two answers to that and then elaborate that on a bit. But first, the one thing that we need to understand, no, I don't want to see Toka. The one thing we need to understand is that with the sort of gameplay balance that the game has, and if you put that gameplay balance in relation to the different power levels of all the different characters, you will find that even the weaker characters with some good memoria and a team where it actually makes sense to have them will be able to beat pretty much every piece of content in the entire game. So just because of that, if you want to roll for gameplay, you already need to understand that even if you have really weak characters, like characters that are on the power level that some other people, like even me, might tell you are not that great, like Toka is really bad, even with those characters, you can beat every single piece of content in the game. Even if you take two characters and put them on a team, you can still beat every single piece of content in the game as long as the entire team kind of makes sense. You will have to probably not throw around different strategies and have some memoria that actually makes sense on people. So you might need to actually be thinking about what you're doing, and you can't just include characters willy-nilly and with some random memoria that, like for example, like giving MP game memoria to Blaskovilas or whatever. So if you actually like think about what you're doing a little bit and you make sure that your team makes sense as a whole, you can include pretty much anyone you want. So just because of that, if you guys are wondering, do I need to roll for this character to be able to beat some EX challenge quests later? No, that's not part of the equation pretty much ever. Or do you need to roll for this character to be able to get the highest rank in mirrors? Right now, you don't need to do that. Later on in Japanese mirrors, that's actually quite the case, but not that ranked mirrors ever really matters anyway, because ranked mirrors, it's just for random prestige and to just show how many characters you have that fit specifically into this specific rule set. So it doesn't really mean anything, because if you just want to win in mirrors, you can once again do that with pretty much anyone. So the question then becomes, well, okay, gameplay is not that important, but maybe I still want to roll for characters that are really strong, okay? Maybe I want to still make sure that I have the strongest characters that I can have, so at least it's the easiest possible way that I can have. Then should I roll for this character? But even then, it's not quite that simple, and I'm going to give an example. Right now, Ashley, on every single, and I'm also going to say that don't look at tier lists, don't ever look at tier lists. Tier lists are bad, because for example, right now, Ashley basically at the top of every single tier list on the North American server, but guess what? She's gonna be on a low tier once all the Arc 2 changes happen, because guess what? Ranked mirrors, in order to get many points in ranked mirrors, you need to use as many Magia and Doppel as you can. Yeah, go home, Ashley. Secondly, once Spirit Enhancement happens, every single character that has Spirit Enhancement is better than every single character that doesn't have Spirit Enhancement, as long as they're 5-star. So for example, a 5-star Himika that has Spirit Enhancement will probably have an easier time beating really hard challenge quests, like EX challenge quests, than an Ashley. So go home, Ashley, until she gets Spirit Enhancement, I guess. Thirdly, some characters that have such good Spirit Enhancement that even if Ashley has Spirit Enhancement herself, they might just have a way better Spirit Enhancement that once again it's go home, Ashley. And then a fourth time, whoops, it's over here. And then the fourth one, Kimochi battles happen. In Kimochi battles, you need to do the maximum amount of damage that you can across 6 turns 3 times in a row. And guess what? With Spirit Enhancement, every single character gets so much Magia damage up and so much Doppel damage up that Magia and Doppel suddenly deal so goddamn much damage on the Japanese server that once again, go home, Ashley. So like 4 different reasons why on the Japanese server, Ashley would actually be low tier on a tier list. But that's also, once again, wrong, because like I said, tier lists are wrong, because if you go into EX challenge quests, Ashley would still be really darn awesome. So the differences between all the different types of content that there is in Magia Record will wildly differ once Arc 2 and Spirit Enhancement, all that kind of stuff happens. And you look at a character like Sama Kyoko right here, she's also gonna have her own sort of different, specific niche with Spirit Enhancement, where she does turn 1 super burst in mirrors and just turn 1 one-shots people, which is absolutely amazing. Like literally, I can show you my, actually I'm not gonna do that. On Japanese, my mirrors team looks absolutely absurd with like 15,000 defense and 40,000 HP on like every single character. I still lost turn 1 to a Kyoko. It's absolutely absurd. So and she didn't even hit critically, she just did that much damage. So there's going to be a lot more wild stuff happening once Arc 2 and Spirit Enhancement happens, that tier lists don't really mean anything. And also, if someone tells you this character is really, really good, then you also need to ask, okay, but where is this character good? Is it good in ranked mirrors? Is it good in Kimochi? Is it good in like EX challenge quests? Is it good for just random farming? There's suddenly all these different questions that you need to ask yourself, and you can't just get the answer to all of these questions from just looking at a tier list that just throws all of these into a bucket and then says, man, this character, I guess they're good in some of these, so high tier, whatever. Like, none of that actually matters anymore whatsoever. Not to mention that, as mentioned before, basically any character can beat any content, so even if a character is an S tier, another character is an F tier or whatever, like what's the difference? They're basically in the same tier of being able to beat everything in the game. So that's basically my opinion on just gameplay stuff. But of course, still, once again, you might still want to pull for a character who at least does the most amount of things pretty decently, who is good in a lot of these different cases, or who is really, really awesome at least one of these, and you think to yourself, wait a second, why is Karin suddenly number one in Kimochi and ranked mirrors? What the actual fuck? Things are going to get very, very differently with Spirit Enhancement, and the reason why I bring this up once again is because I kind of want to do some advertisement here, because of course once Spirit Enhancement happens, they're going to make videos again for every single character that comes out and that gets Spirit Enhancement. For example, once a character like Karin, for example, or every single character gets Spirit Enhancement, I'm going to have to make another video about that character talking about Spirit Enhancement, because like I just said, suddenly Karin is number one, or not number one, but really, really high tier, top tier, again in ranked mirrors and in Kimochi, because she has like 50% double damage with Magia damage, and she buffs her entire team for a ridiculous amount of stuff. So suddenly Karin is top tier everywhere, outside of Challenge Quest. I guess even in Challenge Quest she's really, really good. So basically the point that I want to make is you kind of need to talk to someone directly about how good a character is, specifically in all these different cases, in order to get a better understanding. So you kind of need to watch guides, like of course not just my own guides, other people will make guides as well. Advins, for example, Advins also makes really good guides. They're a bit late sometimes, but Advins also makes really good guides, so you might want to check out some of their guides as well. They're a lot shorter and a bit more memey, but they're still totally fine and give you the information that you need. And basically, that's sort of the idea behind, if you want to know how good a character is, mostly just watch a guide and then figure out for yourself. Like, if you watch a guide and you still want to ask, like, how good is this character, just see if you like what you see in the guide. If you do like what you see in the guide, go for it. If not, then yeah, whatever. Go for someone else. You can just save for other characters. There's no shame in just saying, I'm going to pass this character up to save for another character. For example, you could say, okay, I don't want Sama Kyoko. Who else is up on the horizon? This Charu. Next up is probably Charu. We don't know exactly. But maybe you want to roll for someone else instead. Maybe you want to... Okay, don't actually ever roll the Fate Weave. Don't ever roll the Fate Weave, by the way. Don't ever roll the Fate Weave. Don't the premium Fate Weave. Don't ever roll the premium Fate Weave. This one, don't do it. Another thing you could say is maybe I don't care that much for gameplay, okay? Maybe I don't care that much for gameplay. Maybe I just want to roll for waifu. Maybe there's some of these magic girls in here that I really like a lot. Like, for example, maybe you see Ren or see Karin, something like that. Maybe you're a big Momoko fan, or maybe you have bad taste and you're a Rena fan or a Toka fan, I don't know. Maybe you are some of the fans of some of these characters, and maybe you say to yourself, if this character gets a rerun, for example, let's say there's a rerun gacha for Karin, for example, and you say to yourself, okay, I don't care about the gameplay part, I mean, you just said this rerun gameplay, but I just want her for waifu. Should I do that? Should I roll for a character just for waifu? Yeah, definitely. That should actually be the number one priority when you roll for a character is, okay, maybe not waifu, but how much do you like the character? That's basically it. How much do you like the character? And that should basically be like your number one idea on who you should roll for, is just how much do you like the character. If there's a character that you see coming up, and you can just check the wiki. I mean, if you go to the wiki, for example, you can go to the page that shows the Japanese events, and you can just scroll through the events and just see what happens at, not the exact points, but you can sort of get a good idea on it. So for example, if we scroll down here and like try and find around where we are right now, we're here in Samatore. We're not gonna get the curry house, but you can look, for example, ahead and see, oh, maybe we're gonna get Charo next. Maybe we're gonna get Iriachi right after that as well. It would line up with 22nd of August, so probably actually. Maybe something like that. Maybe after that we're gonna get, if you look at the next event, maybe it's gonna get the Atsukimi event as well. Maybe we're gonna get Cross Connection part 2. Rumors in disguise somewhere up here. Maybe not, who knows. Maybe we're gonna get Crimson Resolve. So you can just kind of look up towards this list and see, maybe I want a horse. Maybe you think to yourself, I want a horse, and you draw for the horse because Hikaru is a horse. And maybe you want to do something like that instead. Maybe you want to look ahead and see, oh, Rikaren, that's great. And it's just kind of how, if you want to draw for a favorite character, how I would approach it is you just look ahead and see who comes up in the near future at some point. You can just scroll up this list and just see what you might want to have, and then just save for them. And if you want to use, and then again, you also need to kind of figure out if you want to just have them. For example, I just rolled for 1 slot Rikaren because I wanted to have them on my home screen, so I only needed them 1 slot. But if you want to use them in battle, then of course you want to have them at least 2 slot, probably 4 slot. So you might want to save a little bit more than that as well. But there's also no shame in just getting the 1 slot just to have them if you really like that character. And also something that I actually did is I rolled like 2 or 3 times for gameplay. So I got a Tart 4 slot and I got a Ashley 4 slot just for gameplay, so that I know that I'm gonna have an easy time at least beating everything. I might not get high ranking in mirrors, I might not get high Kimochi ranking or whatever. Not that Kimochi ranking actually matters, you don't get anything for it. Not even a badge that shows up next to your name, so even less than in ranked mirrors. But even so, I'm not gonna rank any that highly on any of these. But I don't really care, I just want to be able to beat all the content easily, which with 2 Blast Gorillas, definitely is like easy as fuck. But now that I have that, I can look ahead and say, maybe I want to roll for characters that I just like. Maybe I want to do that. Maybe I just want to roll for characters that I just like, and I can do that. I can just save 100 rolls, probably more than 100 rolls, like 200 rolls, to like get a 1 slot at Rikaren, so I can have them on home screen on an A as well. I could just do that, and that's probably something that I would tell you guys as well on how you should approach rolling in general. So basically, that's how you should approach rolling. Don't worry too much about gameplay. If you do worry about gameplay, it's not good enough to just look at someone's tier list or whatever, because tier lists don't really mean anything, especially once Act 2 happens, which is going to be in like 2 months maybe. And also it's a lot more important to get a better understanding of what that character actually does well and what the character actually doesn't do well. So you might need to read guides or watch guides or do anything like that. Anything you can find to get a better understanding of them. You might need to ask specific people that you know how good is that character, even if, or yeah, probably the guy's going to be the easiest way to do that. And if you don't care too much about gameplay, aside from that, just roll for whoever you like. Okay, and it's going to be fine. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was helpful, and see you guys next time.